Hey guys, Omni here. So last night I went and saw Snake Eyes in theaters. This movie was directed by Robert Schwentke. The story was written by Evan Spiliotopoulos, Joe Shrapnel, and Anna Waterhouse. The film stars Henry Golding, Andrew Koji, Haruka Abe, Úrsula Corberó, Takehiro Hira, Samara Weaving, and Iko Uwais. The story centers around Henry Golding's Snake Eyes, and I'm not going to go into too many plot details outside of what's shown in the trailers because I know they're doing something different. I know they're not exactly following his origins from the comics to a T, so I don't want to accidentally say anything that might be a spoiler because it might not be something that you would expect. I don't know. So we're just kind of going to go with that. We know that he's a bit of a drifter in this. He's got some underground fighting under his belt, some way he's putting out his frustrations in life, and along the way, he comes across Tommy Arashikage, who is, of course, Storm Shadow, and he gets accepted into this clan and given this opportunity to go through these trials and tribulations to maybe find a family and find a home in there after him sparing his life on these docks. He got into it with some rough people and they wanted him to take out Tommy after some things went bad, and he decided not to. So there's a lot of twists and turns throughout, and it's a lot of fun. It is very cheesy at times with some of the things that it does, which should be kind of par for the course for the G.I. Joe franchise, but they take it pretty seriously in here, and I think it's a really fun story. The only kind of complaint that I have with some of the story details themselves, some of the character beats, there's a couple of times where there's some character motivations that seem to kind of flip just in a moment's notice. Like, there's not really a lot of setup to a turn necessarily. But it's really just to get the plot moving, and that's kind of one of the weaker parts of as far as the storytelling goes. So aside from that, I think the development of this character of Snake Eyes, his motivations, his goals are well fleshed out, and I think Henry Golding himself does a really good job playing this character and playing these different sides of this character. Andrew Koji, I think he kind of steals a lot of the show for me. I think he gave a really great performance as like showing these like the struggled, torn, kind of fractured person who's been put through all of this pressure to perform, to live up to this role that he has within his clan, and how he kind of puts a lot of that online when he brings Henry Golding, Snake Eyes, into the fold. He's putting his own reputation on the line by bringing this outsider into their clan. And I like that push and pull because it builds a lot of tension as the story kind of prevails. Somebody that honestly stood out too a lot to me was Haruka Abe, who plays Akiko in this. And she's also kind of the heart of this. I think she's like one of the more tender characters that you really kind of get to know, that kind of bridges this new world with what Snake Eyes is coming into, because she's kind of been in the same situation as him, and I like that we kind of see like a parallel to where he came from and where he could be going through this character. There's a lot of fun little relationship play with this in here, as far as the interconnectivity of all these characters, their internal relationships. A lot of the chemistry is really nice between everybody involved. Of course, the villain in this, there's a lot of hints to Cobra, the greater world, but this is very much tied to the Arashikage lineage, to their clan, their story. This is isolated, while there are a lot of world-building antics that are setting up this new rebooted G.I. Joe universe with references to the Joes. Obviously, Samara Weaving's in here as Scarlett, and Úrsula Corberó is here as the Baroness. I never felt like it took away from the actual like main focus, because they all kind of served what was happening in this little narrative. So it didn't really feel shoehorned in or anything like that to me. There are a couple things like here and there where I felt like it was like it was starting to go a little too far one way or the other, but they played into one another's goals and pretty well, and I felt like it fit. The story itself, I don't think is going to really kind of blow a lot of people out of the water. I don't think there's going to be any twists in here that you actually don't see coming. I feel like pretty much everything story-wise in here you could probably kind of see from a mile away as far as you're going through it. But it still never took away from the enjoyment, because I felt like the characters really bought into it. I felt like it fit in tone with the world, and I thought it stayed real to that world. Of course, I think the big draw on this is going to be the action, the set pieces, and all of that. And while they are fantastical, and there is a lot of action in this movie, and it's very flashy, creative, and all that, It's going to be really rough for a lot of people, I think. And even me throughout a couple parts throughout this film was just that the fights themselves, the action itself is really fun when you can see it. There's a heavy reliance on shaky cam to kind of keep all this energy going. You can definitely tell they didn't have any tracks. They had just a guy running and following all the action. You could see every step and shake of the camera. It was really jarring at points, and sometimes it felt a little bit like I was watching Cloverfield with a bunch of ninjas everywhere instead of monsters. And that's going to not work for a lot of people. For something that was like touting how great its action was going to be, how much dedication they were going to giving it this anime level of action and this stylistic approach to it that represents kind of Japanese action, it definitely took away a little bit of it because you can't always see it. And for a film that is about a clan of ninjas, a lot of this action is in the dark. So it's going to be really important to keep the camera in focus and in line with the character so we can see what's going on. There's a lot of times where you kind of get lost in the action between all of the cutting and the edits, not to mention the shaky cam itself. So while the action can be fun, is really fun and creative, you don't get to see all of it. And I think that's a big detractor for the film. But what I do think that it nails, though, is stylistically, this definitely nails the Japanese and anime kind of feel to it. There's a lot of moments where I was like, well, yeah, I've seen this like 1,000 times in anime, man. And it looks pretty good. Like the visuals, the style, the setting of Tokyo is just really gorgeous in the way they shoot it. There's a lot of really beautiful imagery in this. The internal setup of the compound of the Arashikage clan was really creative and interesting. Like how just the in general set design of everything in the film was really cool as well. The film looks great. Like, it's beautiful. It is a gorgeous looking film. The CGI, when it's there, isn't always too distracting. There's one scene in particular where there's a bunch of swords stabbed through a certain kind of item coming towards one of our main characters, and it almost looked like Wolverine's claws from Wolverine Origins. Not that bad, but it was borderline getting there. But overall, I think the film looks great. I think the performances are great. I think it sets up a new version of the G.I. Joe world in which we're going to be able to explore further, assuming this does well and they want to move forward with it. I will say that I think this is easily the best of the live action G.I. Joe films, which for me, I don't feel like that was a high bar to reach to begin with, but I thought this was a really fun action flick. It's definitely got a lot of flaws as far as the way it was shot, the way the action was captured, the way it was edited. And again, I think that there's some character motivations and stuff in the script that maybe could have been smoothed out a little bit, or at least for as long as this film is, they could have like gradually built some of these character flips on certain plot beats that kind of would make it a little less jarring or just kind of out of nowhere. But it was still a fun watch. It was still a fun ride. Out of everything coming out this weekend, it was definitely the standout to me. I'm going to be seeing Old later this weekend because, my God, did those trailers look freaking terrible to me. But it seems like such an interesting premise. And of course, it's M. Night Shyamalan, so good or bad, it's probably going to be entertaining, even if it's a shitty movie. So we'll just have to find out, and I'll be giving you guys my thoughts on that. Right now, I don't think Snake Eyes lived up to the hype that they were kind of selling us on it. I think the trailer showed us some of the best bits of the action that was the best looking. When it's not focused on fighting a bunch of goons, you can usually keep track of the fights. When it comes down to the one-on-ones, the two-on-threes, or like the three-way fights, as long as it's not like 10 plus people, you can pretty much usually follow what's going on, except for like there's this one opening fight in the beginning where it's just like, that was like I think the worst of it for me, but I don't know. In the end, I still had fun with the movie. It's definitely not perfect, but I definitely would recommend checking it out if you want to see a solid action flick, if you love Japanese inspired things, if you like G.I. Joe, check it out. Anyway, guys, that's my thoughts on the film, and I'd love to know yours if you've seen it. So sound off the comments. Let me know your thoughts down below so we can carry on the conversation after the video. Before we go, I want to shout out our channel legends, Bandy Share, Ryan Karen, Jason Coleman, and Philly Vane. Thank you guys as always. If you want to come and chat anything, you know, film, anime, video games, TV, come join our Discord or follow me on all my socials. Links to all those are in the description of this video, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Take care, everybody.